Okay, it says we're live now, so we're live.
Good morning,
Happy
everybody.
Friday.
Yeah, yay, Friday.
Fun Friday, Frisky Friday.
Yes. First thing I'm going to do before I forget is I wanted to thank my lovely sisters for the beautiful flowers in memorial for my mom. So thank you, Proud. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Palin. I took a picture so that you could see. They're starting to fade out now, and I'll be drying a bunch of them. So I don't know if you can see that or not.
It's pretty.
Yeah, they were all really, really pretty. So I do appreciate it. It's been kind of a long week. So I think we're going to start out right away with a prayer. And I hope you can hear me okay. I'm kind of plugged up here. The evil tongue. If you blow upon a spark, it quickens into flame. If you spit on it, it dies out. Yet both you do with your mouth. Cursed be gossips and double-tongued, for they destroy the peace of many. A meddlesome tongue subverts many and makes them refugees among the people. It destroys walled cities and overthrows powerful dynasties. The meddlesome tongue can drive virtuous women from their homes and rob them of the fruit of their toil. Whoever heeds it has no rest, nor can he dwell in peace. A blow from a whip raises a welt, but a blow from the tongue smashes the bones. Many have fallen by the edge of the sword, but not as many as by the tongue. Happy he who is sheltered from it and has not endured its wrath.
Your dog.
My dog.
Something was in the camera.
Sorry. I thought I got rid of her there for a minute.
It was just a big nose where your head was.
At least your nose is bigger than my head.
Oh my God, that was funny.
And I couldn't tell because I was reading out of the Bible.
I know, I was sitting here trying not to laugh because you were reading out of the Bible, but all I could see was the nose.
I'm glad I didn't see it. Probably wouldn't have ended well. It's one of those things where you can't stop laughing. Okay, I'm going to start with, I'm going to show you a video that I took while I was on Arsenal. And I have several family members there that are buried there. So I go over quite a bit. And this is just driving to the pavilion where we had our ceremony. I won't show you all of this because it does its... the Rock Island Arsenal is actually one of the top 30 national cemeteries for burials in the United States. And if it puts it in perspective, when I drive through there, every time I drive through there, I just look at that and think of the sacrifices of the veterans and their spouses that are there buried, which my mom is now there. She's just waiting patiently for my dad to join her someday. But the Arsenal only has 66.8 acres. And when you look around, that's all you see is the headstones. 66.8. And that's only one of the top 30 in the United States. So there are tons more like this. But to put it in perspective, 66.8 at the Rock Island Arsenal, and there's 639 acres at Arlington Cemetery. This is why I'm adamant on having President Trump. We need someone in office who cares about our veterans, who cares about the wars they've been put in, and who respect the ones that are still living. These people died for our country, and this administration is spitting on their graves. And I get so angry. I get so angry at all that, especially when I drive through, because there's over 40,000 that are buried at the Rock Island Arsenal. But then at Arlington, there's over 400,000. And you're talking, there's 171 national cemeteries in the United States. And when you add up all those headstones and how many acres of people that have fallen and fought for this country, you would think that people would wake up, and they're not. And I don't understand it. I don't understand when I drive some places in Wisconsin, they're just Biden and Harris signs, or there's Walls and Harris signs now. And Trump, though, it's 10-1. It's 10-1 for Trump. So at least that's one positive part, especially living out here in the country where I'm at. It's all Trump country. There's nobody out here that even wants to consider Harris Walls. So I just thought that, every time I go to the Arsenal, and my daughter works there now, she's a logistics management specialist, and she works there, and her husband works there. My dad retired from there after the Air Force, and we moved to Illinois. He started working there as a machinist, building weapons and things like that. So I go pretty often, and it just seems like every time I go, there's someone new being buried, or a grave that has just been dug and buried. So we got illegals here, and we're going to send our young men and women over to fight and die for no cause whatsoever for the United States, while we support with our taxpayer dollars all these immigrants from other countries. And it's infuriating. It's no wonder that the Patriot Party is so angry, but we aren't going out, and we are not burning down cities. We're not starting, burning the flags or whatever. We're not taking down LGBTQ flags that are hanging at some of these churches and burning them or anything like that. We're the peaceful ones. And it's so infuriating. I don't watch the news anymore for that reason. I can't stand to listen to it. And I just do not understand. I don't understand other people. I really don't. It's definitely got to be a mental illness.
Yeah, I think they're all mental on the other side.
Trixie, I'm going to try to pull up my chat here. Sorry, I couldn't really get on there.
Okay, I got it up, and I've been telling everybody good morning while you were talking. So I was listening to you, but I was typing at the same time.
Well, I'm kind of boring.
You're not boring. You're not boring at all. It's interesting hearing about the cemeteries, though.
Yeah, I'm a history nut, but I read a lot. In the wintertime, I'm kind of homebound, so I do a lot of reading in the winter, late fall, winter.
I like watching documentaries, where that's like one of my absolute favorites, because
mine is World War II. I really dig into World War II. There's a lot I've learned that's not talked about, that's not taught in school, that you actually have to, research, I always tell my grandkids, get a book, get books, don't rely on the internet. I'm sorry, I got a fly over here. Between the dog and a fly, I don't know.
Oh, I don't. I'm going to do something real quick while you're doing your chat thing here real quick, but we're praying for everybody that's in the storm's path. I don't know about Nut. She was right on the coast, and I think Mad moved into Virginia, so she's okay. But like Red's not on, and she's in South Carolina, so I'm assuming that they probably don't have any power over there, because she was going to see Tucker last night and it got canceled in South Carolina. So for everybody that's in the path of the storm, we're praying for you. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, I watch Storm Chasers a lot. When I get bored, I don't really watch TV, but I do watch like Storm Chasers on my computer. So I watch Ryan Hall and I watch Max Velocity, and they covered it really well. And yeah, it's a wicked one. This is not one that's just going to be a category 1. This one is
I was flipping between the two last night too, and when I was watching Ryan Hall, he lost feed for a while, and he kept saying this was really weird. So then I switched over to Max Velocity and watched him, and then I fell asleep. And then I woke up, and my YouTube was off. So I don't know what happened after that.
Well, it wasn't that storm, I don't think.
Oh, we're getting it here. I got high wind warnings coming at 11. I had to go out and take all my stuff down and everything. We're supposed to have 60-mile-an-hour winds here, and I'm in middle Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's raining here already. It's the outer bands are already here.
Yeah. Oh, there's also, and I've been out the last couple nights. Up until the beginning of October, we have the comet. And now the first comet I saw was Halley's Comet back in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the most surreal celestial event I've ever witnessed in my entire life. You know, it used to be, a falling star. That was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing Halley's Comet in the sky, looking like it did for so long, to me was like phenomenal. So when I heard this one was going to be able to be seen with the naked eye, I went out with my camera. I did get a kind of a fuzzy picture that I put on my Getter page of a phone picture I took of it, but it's not real clear. So in the morning, right before dawn is the best time to see it. And I've got my Nikon P1000 ready to go. So tomorrow, hopefully it won't be cloudy and I can get better pictures of it. But I did catch a little bit of it.
I remember when Halley's Comet, I was living in Traverse City then, and where I lived on a great big hill. So I could see the bay from my house on the hill. And when Halley's Comet was out, I had a clear view every single night of that thing. And I had a telescope then too. So, oh man, was that ever cool. I'll never forget that.
Nope. That was definitely, well, it's a once in a lifetime thing. And this comet, although it's cool, it doesn't do the same justice that Halley's Comet did. That was totally phenomenal. I wish we had the phone cameras and everything back then. You know, back then we still had to develop our film.
Yeah.
So we were kind of picky on, what picture we wanted to waste our film on, because we still had to get it developed too.
Yeah.
So everybody make sure that you go out and try to find that in the morning.
Yeah. I had Northern Lights over here. I think it was last week. But you couldn't see them with the naked eye. But if you took your phone and looked through your camera lens, you could see it. I couldn't see any color but green, but you could see it, going across the sky and everything. But when I lived in Michigan, oh my gosh, because it was so dark up there, you could see the Milky Way at night and everything. I miss that because down here you can't see as good. But
it was like that when I lived in Butte, Montana, because it's so flat. And I mean, it's just nothing but sky. You could see everything. It was amazing.
In the summertime, I got one of those gravity chairs and I put it out on my deck all the time. And then I flatten it out and I just lay and watch, and watch for shooting stars and all that. You see some real interesting things.
I don't know what a gravity chair is, but it sounds like something you could cut off and just take a little trip.
It's one of those long, it's like an L chair. And then if you lean back, the whole thing flips.
Oh, okay. So I'd be on my back side more than likely.
Well, yeah. So that way you can lay on your back and it's almost like kind of being in bed. And then I got like a cup holder on the side of it so I can put my drinks and my phone and all kinds of stuff. But it's really nice if you get one of them at night to be able to watch the sky because you see a lot of weird things in the sky.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, there was, what was it? Starlink?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That was out the other day too. And I didn't get to see that. I looked for it, but I was more interested in finding the comet. It's got two tails on this comet. And one's kind of a white and one's kind of a blue. But one is made of gases and then one is made of like dust particles, things like that. So there's like two tails on this comet. And my phone didn't capture a good picture. It just got kind of a partial, but like I said, I've got my good camera and I'm going to go out in the morning. I'm going to try to get me a good picture.
You probably will. It's so dark by you that you could get really good stuff at night.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely dark. If the coyotes don't eat me, they're pretty rampant right now.
Oh, I don't have them around here. Well, we do, but I'm too close. I'm just outside of the city limits where the farms all start. So
Oh, yeah.
I can hear them, but they're not real close to me, but I'd have to watch because Augie's so small, they'd eat him for a snack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I got to tell you, what happened to my dog the other day? I know you guys probably don't care, but this scared the crap out of me so bad. He went and got a stick out of the yard and I didn't know it, let him in, and he was chewing on it. And all of a sudden he came up to me and he started hitting me with his nose and his mouth was open. And I couldn't figure, and he just kept doing this. And then all of a sudden he started going like that and fell over limp. Oh my God. I went and I grabbed him and I stuck my hand down his throat. He had a stick down his throat, wedged sideways.
Oh, no.
It was a good thing I got small hands because I got 2 fingers down in there and I could feel it and I got it out. But by gosh, he knew what I did because after that, he kept licking my hand and licking my hand and licking my hand. So now I got to go outside with him every time, make sure he doesn't grab sticks. And I got trees all over in my yard.
Oh, yeah. I go out with YA all the time because she can get out of her harness. She's an escape artist. So I got to stand out there with her all the time.
Oh,
If she sees a deer or a turkey, she can pull. I have this big wood box that's about 5 foot, long by 3 foot high and 3 foot deep. And she can pull that, if she's after something. So I got to really watch her for sure.
Oh, man. Well,
oh yeah, we have a birthday, don't we?
Yeah, I got it in chat. Proud's got a birthday Sunday.
Happy birthday, Proud. 30 again, I'm assuming.
It's the annual anniversary. It's the 3rd annual anniversary of her 20th birthday and a half decade.
Okay.
Something like that.
We're all the same age. I love it.
I turn 30 every year.
That doesn't work for me because my daughter's 44.
I went out with the girls last night. Man, did we have fun.
Yeah, my going out is like walking out to the woodshed. So.
Well, you remember that bingo game I told you guys about a while ago?
Oh, yeah.
That's where we went last night.
One that you will never catch me at.
We had so much fun last night. Oh, it's great. It was great.
I'm going to pass on that one.
You know what? They gave out a 5th of pineapple vodka, and they had dinner cards for smoked brisket. They only give out a toy for one game. The rest of it's normal stuff. But they do. But oh my gosh, that place was packed. But I think I'm going to go back again. It was pretty fun.
Well, if I get one of those toys, no doubt YA would get a hold of it and she'd go running around with it while I have company. So yeah, I'm going to pass.
Well, it was great because there were so many. I mean, the place was packed and it was all guys in there playing and stuff too. But I won't go into detail because it gets kind of nasty with some of the stuff. But it was fun.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. Well, my granddaughter.
Unless he's got a full beard, a flannel shirt, and an axe in his hand, I'm not even looking twice.
Well, they were there, but no axes in the bar. There was no axe.
Well, I suppose that's a good thing.
Well, it's free bingo, so why not?
You can't even go to church and play free bingo.
No.
I'm trying to look at the chat in here and catch up, but.
Well, you got more about the Arsenal?
Not really.
Okay, well, I
didn't want to bore everybody with a history lesson. People get bored with history, but I mean, I don't know how many people know that Arlington was actually Grant Lee's home. Arlington.
I didn't. I've been there a lot.
Lee's home, and it was taken over by the Confederates. That's a little tidbit maybe somebody didn't know.
I didn't know that. every time I go to Washington, I stay on the other side of the Potomac, right by Arlington, and usually I end up with a room that looks over Arlington Cemetery. And you like a couple times I got pictures like of the 9/11 memorial they have over there and everything. But man, that place is beautiful, but it's so sad. But you don't realize how big it is until you're like a couple floors up in a hotel and you can see over
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Oh, I know. Well, like I said, when you look at the Arsenal, when you first drive in and you're driving around to, the cemetery itself, you just think it's massive. Well, when I was at Arlington, it took us hours to find great uncles that were buried there, going into the archives and searching where they're buried. But then you multiply that, what, 639 acres compared to 66 acres. There's a huge difference. Huge difference. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to the Rock Island Arsenal, the history there is amazing. We rent a mansion, one of the mansions that, let's see, Charles Lindbergh stayed there when he was on the Arsenal. A lot, and the pictures hanging up the wall. You can rent this out for events, and because my family is massive, that's where we went last year, and we went the year before. And my mom was so adamant on going this past Christmas. Christmas was her holiday. She absolutely loved it. So, being my daughter works there, she reserved it for us, and the history that's just in that one mansion alone. But they have Colonel Davenport's house. They have the museum you can go through, but it would take you a full day to go through everything.
Colonel Davenport, that sounds like a cartoon name.
Oh, the city of Davenport was named after him, Davenport, Iowa.
Well, see, I didn't know that.
Yep. That's my history lesson for today.
Yeah, Mark says you could keep going on history. He likes it.
Yeah, I like history too. I just didn't want to bore everybody with the Arsenal one, but
yeah. Well, I don't know. I think it's interesting, but people really need to go out to those military cemeteries and see them for themselves, because you don't really comprehend the number of people that were lost in war or anything until you look at that. Yeah. And when you see that just breaks your heart, really.
Well, that's what I said about, when you look at just from that little video I showed you. I mean, I've got tons more pictures over the years because we've been going back and forth since my relatives have passed. But it looks so massive. But then when you think that's only 66 acres and 40,000 people, the military and their spouses.
Yeah.
But then you go to Arlington, and it's over 400,000 and 639 acres.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. We didn't even get to see it all when we were at Arlington.
Yeah, I've been there for the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and all that stuff. I went so many times to Washington for work. So when I got done working, I was all over the place. I found the Masonic Temple, that real big one. And then what was the books that one guy wrote, like Angels and Demons? And do you remember that one?
I remember the book Angels and Demons.
It was the first book. I can't remember the name of it now. Now I'm going to be mad at myself. But I read that book, and then when I went to Washington, I went and found all the spots in that book. It was based on history. Dan Brown, that's it. The author was Dan Brown. And he did Angels and Demons. It was a Tom Hanks, and they made movies out of him too. But I know the one time after I read the book,
I just remember the name Angels and Demons.
Yeah, I went, found everything in the book, and he was right on everything, like about the Masonic Temple there, and what was across the street in the park from the Masonic Temple, and it has all about the Washington Monument. And I had been to all that stuff. So for me, it was really interesting to be able, because I was familiar with stuff, to read it and then go back and, find everything again.
Yeah. I have a fly that's driving me crazy. I thought one of the most interesting places, there's so many that you could see in Washington, D.C. That's amazing. There was, I believe it was the History Museum that was closed for renovations, but the Holocaust Museum, I couldn't walk through that without tears.
Yeah.
You just can't. When you see the shoes and the jewelry and the hair and the just it's unbelievable that happened. It's to me, it's still I get so angry when I hear people deny that it even happened. So
Yeah. Well, I had relatives that died during that. They were in the Warsaw Ghetto, and they were part of the resistance. And I found that out. I mean, most of my family came like around 1910 to 1915. My great grandparents, and because my one grandma, she only spoke Polish.
yeah,
But
well, mine were Belgium. So, and this is funny because my dad's dad and my mom, or my dad's dad and his mom, came over on separate ships. They were infants. It was 1911. And I've got pictures of the ships each one of them came over on from Belgium.
oh, that's cool.
And yeah, Belgium, Moline, Illinois was where a lot of the Belgium settled. So I had a lot of my Belgium relatives in the Moline area, and they didn't speak good English. In fact, my great aunt, she had a cookbook, and you have to really kind of decipher what she's writing because it's kind of sort of English and sort of Belgium. So
Yeah.
I have that cookbook, and I keep it wrapped up because it's pretty old. It's when you had a phone number that was like
No area code.
yeah, Moline 73.
Yeah, I remember those things.
Yeah.
I know my grandma had a Polish Bible, but my what used to crack me up is their T's are three, everything three, Tracy.
Yeah, yeah. We still have
I catch myself doing it every once in a while just from growing up like that, but I have to be careful. But then sometimes too, I do the Midwestern, you betcha, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do a lot of slang sort of. Depends on how mad I am.
So what do you think about the Eric Adams thing? Do you think I was going through the charges and they're nailing him for something? I can't understand. It can't be just that they're mad at him about the immigration stuff. There seems to be
maybe he did like to party an awful lot,
Yeah, I think it's tied into Diddy somehow.
The P. Diddy syndrome is starting to catch up. J-Lo better watch her backside too.
Oh, I've been seeing so much stuff on X over Diddy and everything. And then where was I? I saw one. Now, you know how they got all that 1,000 bottles of lube or whatever?
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
Yeah, but you know what's in it?
Yeah.
What they were doing is they had GHB in it so that when they put it on the girls, they don't have any memory of anything that happened.
Yep.
I mean,
they also had a list. I saw that. I think it was Thursday. I saw it. Wednesday, maybe Thursday. My days are messed up, but it had a list of some of the names, and there were all adults. Then you have Justin Bieber, minor, and there was another one that was a minor as well. So I did see a lot of the videos of Justin Bieber, and it's like that poor kid went through hell. And I remember, when he was first a young kid coming out, how some of the talk shows would say, he's a good kid. His mom was with him all the time. Well, his mom wasn't with him for the P. Diddy weekend.
Nope.
Sadly.
That poor kid, he's messed up. I mean, I'm glad he turned to God and everything now. I mean, he was before, but now, that song he came out with about Jesus and everything, it's beautiful when you listen to what he's saying, but you have to listen to the lyrics. And then, and I've seen videos too of people that never listened to the original song that he did about Diddy. And then you see him when they start figuring out what the words are, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was right there in the song.
Yeah.
And it's a sad, sad thing.
And
'cause those
sadly,
people-
all of this takes so many years. Look at Weinstein and
oh yeah.
Oprah. Oprah, she needs to be caught too. Because you can't tell me
Oh,
that
Oprah, yeah.
you can't tell me that school that she started, where all the abuse was and trafficking was taking place, and her John of God buddy, you can't tell me that she didn't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, all those girls that disappeared and everything. I remember all that stuff. And then, they deny everything. And now everybody's probably running for the hills.
Oh, yeah.
Because they know they're going. And I think it's funny about J-Lo and that Affleck. I think that's funny. I mean, he had to have known. Come on. It was all over in the paper.
Again.
He's what?
He dropped her again.
Yeah, they said, I heard that they were getting divorced because the FBI showed him some stuff about J-Lo that involved with that shooting in New York or whatever, where she said, because that guy's doing prison time for that.
Yeah.
And it was Diddy.
Yep. Well, a lot of people were eliminated. It's kind of, everybody's saying they're going to Epstein him, just like they did. There's big names going to come out.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
of course, the FBI has it all under control, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't trust our Department of Justice anymore.
I don't trust anybody. I trust Trump.
Yeah, I'll trust Trump and I trust God and Jesus. That gets me about right there. I trust myself too, but sometimes I don't. Depends on what I'm doing.
Well, if I question anything, if there's something that doesn't sit right with me, then I start digging because I'm tired of being lied to.
Yeah.
And I don't want the wool pulled over my eyes anymore. So I do dig. And sometimes I find out something that somebody else doesn't like. Sometimes you have to be the voice,
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be the voice to say, listen, wake up, go find out about this because this is not a joke. Some people just don't want to hear.
Or just brought up Vince Foster. Remember that? When that guy that was he was a lawyer for the Clintons, and they said he committed suicide in a park in DC, but he was shot in the head twice. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you could shoot yourself in the head twice.
Yeah, I've heard people that are shot in the back as well.
Well, yeah, that's the Clinton cartel. That one going out of, what was it, Mena, Arkansas, with all that stuff where they were loading the planes full of coke and flying them out and all that. Yeah, this is just crazy stuff.
There's a whole lot of stuff we have no clue.
You know what? I'm really scared for the October surprise. But you know what? Do you think that maybe the October surprise is going to be an October surprise for the Dems, and that they're going to start unsealing all those indictments and start rounding people up?
I might have given it a little bit more positive thinking had Johnson not gone the way he did.
Yeah, that Johnson made me mad doing that.
He's just, if they wanted, when they had the speaker vote and Hakeem Jeffries was the Democrats' choice, I thought, yep, watch out for that guy. He's bad news, and he is bad news.
I don't know what's going to happen. What's coming?
Obviously, Mike Johnson has no balls because everybody's been screaming this at the top of their lungs. Close the border, shut the government down. But that
kind of goes right in. Do you mind if I go into the Agenda 2030 stuff then?
No, go ahead. I'm going to let the dog out. So,
all right.
Put it on mute.
All right. Okay, so the Agenda 2030, you guys were asking about that. And what that is, it was adopted by the UN last week, or the beginning of this week. I got the press release for it, and they did it through silent consent so that it didn't have to go to be ratified through the Senate or the Congress or whatever you want to say and get signed. But what there is, there's 17 goals that go with Agenda 30. And if you go to the UN website, they go into a lot of detail on each one. But if you notice what they write compared to what you'll read on social media, it's two different things. Now, the UN puts this real pretty spin on everything, but then if you start digging into how they explain it, you'll get an idea. But like the first goal is zero hunger. So you know what they're doing with that. They're going to try to change the agriculture system, and that's where they're going with the bugs for different protein and stuff like that. Now the second one is good health. This is the one you have to be really, really, really wary of. There's a vaccine schedule that goes with that, and I am not kidding you. I've got a copy of it, and I posted it on Locals. And the vaccine schedule is it's real long, and there's a bunch of stuff in it, and I'm going to circle back to that here as soon as I get through the rest of them. And then the other goal is quality education, and that's where they want to take over the entire education, and this is global. This is not just our country. And then they have gender equality, and you know how they're doing with the gender equality. And then we have clean water and sanitation. That's another one you have to watch, because that's where they're going to start rationing different things. And then they have affordable and clean energy. We knew that one. And then decent work. This is a kicker too, because they're automating everything with robots and stuff. So there's going to be way, way too many people and not enough jobs. So just keep that in mind until we circle back. And then industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Now that one, they want to take over everything with that. In the industry, innovation, and infrastructure, it would be basically like government-owned companies and everything. They're going to have private corporations partnering with them, and that was explained in that. But you have to be careful with the private partnership, because if they have private companies, everything's going to be run for profit, and we're still going to suffer, and it'll be a 2-time suffer, because not only will they be doing things to us, we're going to be financially strapped and everything else too. And then they have reduced inequalities. That's the communism part. They want everybody to be on an equal foot, exactly the same, except for the elites. That's how it's going to be. And then sustainable cities. Everybody knows about the 15-minute cities, about how you won't be able to leave your sector, and everything. You won't have a car. Everything will be within walking distance. If you have a job or
sector.
Yeah. I wish I had the emoji to stick up on the screen right now, but I don't. Yeah. You know which one I'm talking about. The one finger salute.
I do.
Yeah. And then responsible consumption and production. This is one where they're going to keep your food, and they're going to restrict your calories, is what they're saying. And then you have your climate action. They're life below water. That's another one. So they want to even take over the water. And so, they're already doing that with all the fishing and pulling permits and that kind of stuff.
Oh, they're doing it up in Idaho already, for sure, for farmland.
Yep. And then the life on land. That's the next one. And that's what they're doing out. They're taking over like the grazing areas for people that have cattle. They've had cattle, grazing there for 100 years, and now they're saying they can't. Mm-hmm. And then peace, justice, and strong institutions. That one, I wouldn't trust them. We don't have justice now. Everything is against us. I mean, we have a weaponized justice system. And if this goes global, anybody that's going to be a dissenter will just probably automatically be going to the gulag or something. And then they have the partnerships. And that's the public-private partnerships with the private corporations. But when you get back to the sustainable food, that's where it gets really, really scary. They're going to be doing that with the bugs and the different protein, but they're talking about restricting calories on people. So if they go to like central digital currency, which is what they want just a one world. It's a one world government. They want one world religion. They want one world monetary policy, and they want no borders. It'll be open borders. And I think at one point they talked about sectors. So like Canada and South America and us and everything, we would be like the North American Union, or the American Union, and then like Asia would be something else. But they split it out into 5. But they adopted this. It was supposed to go through if it was done as a treaty, it would have to get ratified. But the way they did it as a pact, so it didn't have to. And then they did it by silent consent. So that means all they did was read the whole thing out at the UN. And as long as nobody objected, it passed. So that, and I got the press release on it. So if somebody tells you it didn't, yes, it did. I mean, they even put a press release out that
Yeah, it's a good thing you guys were talking about that when I came back, because literally I missed a whole week of what's going on because I was running back and forth from Wisconsin to Illinois for a week. So I missed out on a lot. And when I get in the chat and start seeing everybody talk, it's like, well, I missed, you miss one day anymore. It's like you miss everything.
Well, the news cycle, like it used to be 24 hours. Now it's like everything is like fluid. It changes, minute by minute. But this pact that's happening, if we don't get Trump in, they're going to go ahead and they'll keep it. And then we're going to be in a lot of trouble because in that press release, they're speeding it up. They're not waiting to 2030. And I have a feeling that that's probably why they're pushing Harris, because in the press release, it says how they're they got a bunch of countries at this UN meeting that agreed to expedite it. So that means they're going to be going full bore on this stuff. And we got to fight it, because if we don't fight it, we're subjugated. We already lost our sovereignty with this, because with that pact, the UN and like the WHO will be taking over all the stuff. And so they can tell us that we can't leave our homes, even if there's nothing going on here. But because in another country there's a pandemic, we're gonna end up suffering for it too. And the part about equality is really scary, because that could run right along with like bank bail-ins. So if they said, you could get up on a Friday morning and your bank account's locked, they could take everybody's money and it'd be gone, and then turn around and go to digital currency and give each person, like you get $500 a month or something, and that's it. And there won't be any way to pay your bills. There's no garage. You won't be able to have a garage sale, because you.
Oh yeah. God forbid you should make an extra $50.
Yeah. So right now was that FBI informant that testified at the hearing the other day. He said to have it was the whistleblower, 3 to 4 months food, water, pray, and buy lots of ammo. And he said this right in the hearing. So it's on the record. He's not being facetious. He was a whistleblower with a really good background. And he talked about. I
know who you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
Yeah. And he can. So I think, this is my own opinion. I'm not talking for anybody else but myself. But if you step back and you look at the pattern of things that's been happening, I really think that it's going to happen if we don't get Trump in, because they've got everything in place right now. So all they're waiting for is that election to happen.
Either way this goes, it's going to be bad, because when Trump wins by a massive landslide, all those illegals, all those crazy people, they have cell phones, and they're going to get a little signal on those cell phones. And the ones that were brought over here to eliminate us, they're going to be active. I mean, they're going to be active.
Well, yeah, they're just waiting for the call.
Yeah.
I mean, remember, during Obama's time, they bought all those guns. They stockpiled all that ammo. I mean, they sent it to the USDA. Now, what do they need that for? They don't.
What about the IRS? They did the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, anybody that works for the IRS, they're stupid. But I mean, I know you got to make a living, but you might as well be a traitor to do that, because that's not even.
In fact, our accountant, when I was in crop dusting business, our CPA did work for the IRS. And he said, that place is so screwed up. They don't know what's going on. And he opened that's when he opened his own offices and got away from it. He said and that was years ago. He said, it's been messed up for years.
Well,
Well,
Hard man.
they seem to find enough to take care of the illegals coming in.
Yeah. Hard man always talks about nanotechnology in those jabs. And I'm not sure if it was in all of them. From my understanding, there were 3 different batches of vaccine. One was a placebo,
Mhm.
one had the nanotechnology in it, and the other one had the stuff in it to make you sick. I'm not going to go into detail on that one. That'll be another time.
I've heard the same thing.
Okay. Now, when you go to the UN and you get to their digital technology, it's right in the UN pact that people, schools, and hospitals will be hooked up to the internet. It's right in there. So the only way they're going to hook a person up to the internet is if you have graphene oxide in your bloodstream. If you have that graphene oxide, that's going to be able to track like the cell signal or whatever. What I've been finding out, and I don't know if it's 100% true because it's so tamped down, is that there's a certain signal they can put out on a cell phone that will activate that graphene oxide. So now when you're looking at autopsies from people that have had COVID and you see those blood clots that look like snakes that they're bringing out, okay, that graphene oxide magnetizes and makes those clumps. And that they've found out that it can grow. Those things grow into, it looks like an alien almost. So somehow through sound signals or something, it activates that stuff. So I don't know if it's like the magnetism or the sound signal. I'd have to do
I know,
more.
and I've heard, like, I don't have my tin foil to make a hat, but I've heard people say that the 5G towers are what's going to end up activating it.
Well,
Now-
the EMF that comes off that makes you sick.
Right.
If you sleep with your phone next to you or you have your modem anywhere near you at night, don't do it.
Oh,
Because-
I expect a full-blown power grid outage. That's how I'm preparing. I expect everything to go out.
Yeah, well, that nanotechnology stuff, you can't find too much about it. Hardman has the patent number for it through the military, though, and I know he posts it quite a bit. Now, I believe it because I've seen a lot of different videos and different abstracts and stuff talking about some of this stuff. So I don't know what really they're trying to hook people up for, unless it's to be able to monitor like your blood pressure, if you're breathing, where you're going. Like,
I
if
don't know. It
they
all
have-
sounds kind of creepy to me.
yeah, I know, but that's, if everybody has to be vaccinated, they had the vaccine schedule and everything, you'll be mandated to do all these different medical things and everything. So they'll be able to keep track of you with that. And I think that like the jabs, that was a way to do like a live test of that nanotechnology. Now, what do you got it here? I just saw it. Okay, hard set. It's Pentagon Directive 3000.09. And I know I've seen you hard post that quite a bit, but I've read a lot of stuff too that came out from the very beginning about that nanotechnology, and I thought it was really crazy. But then the more you start reading about it, no, it makes sense. Now he's saying they use light beams. Well, I don't know enough to even make a comment about that. But you do know about, I don't know if you guys know about Project Bluebeam. I don't know if you know, do you know about that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. This is the military, and they've come up with to make things look like virtual reality. Okay. So it like just like a hologram. So like when you would go see, if you went to some, I can't remember those magicians in Vegas. I went and saw them, but that's how I knew what I was sitting right under the stage so I could see how they use the holograms to make the tigers disappear.
Yeah.
It wasn't magic. It was all, visual tricks. But my uncle used to work with Werner von Braun, the guy that did the bombs and stuff.
Mhm.
And Werner always said that the government in the future, they would either, what I want to say it, fake aliens coming and landing here and taking us over, or they would fake the second coming of Christ. And he said this back in the 50s. And you can go through history and you can see quite, It's been going on for quite a while. And I've seen different testing of it. I think Japan, where they had like a Godzilla jumping out of a building. And I mean, it looks real.
Oh
But
yeah, they have it for kids at school where they go to the gymnasium and they can make a whale jump out of water and splash.
Mhm. Well,
Kids
I
think
mean,
it's amazing. I've
we're
seen
talking.
some video, but I didn't know if it was real or not.
Yeah, it's real. And I think that's tied, Project Bluebeam, that was a long time ago. So you know how far they've come. But I just wanted to put that out there while we're talking about conspiracies, because so many people are waiting. They say the rapture and all this stuff is coming. And with the world the way it is and revelations and everything, just be very, very discerning on what you believe. Do your research and look for yourself on things. But this Agenda 2030 is going to be the death of us if we don't get Trump in there, because
Oh, for sure.
and this has
And
been
I
coming
think
on
they knew
for a
they
long
were going on, especially now, because nobody's going to touch Trump. Nobody can touch Trump. His rallies are massive. His town halls are massive. There's as many people outside as inside. People are awake. They're not playing this game anymore. And that's why I think one way or the other, whether Trump wins or they cheat and put Harris in, all hell's coming. We're not going to sit back for another 4 years. You know what? I was going to bring this up when I was talking, and I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you, but I don't want to
You're
forget.
okay.
But my dad, 87 years old now, him and mom, 67 years of marriage. When they got married, they did everything right. There's no unemployment to go on. He had a family of 9 to support by the time he was 28 years old. And he'd get 2 jobs. Mom, of course, was home with us because their ages were 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pregnant, for years. That's just how it was. But he never once went on unemployment. And they tell you, put a little bit aside for, your funeral and all of this. Pay your taxes. They paid insurance on vehicles, insurance on their homes. One time they tried to use it on a vehicle, never on their home, never on any other vehicle. They go, after the last couple of years, they've been making payments to the funeral home, to prepare for these days. And they've been making payments. Well, over the last 4 years, they had to stop those payments. They originally were paying for their coffins. They were going to be buried at the arsenal, one on top of the other. That's how they do it. Because of the economy over the last 4 years ago, they had to stop making payments on that because my mom's health, the bills from, that weren't covered under their insurance or Medicare, all this, they were drowning. So he had to cancel all that. And that's why my mom decided to be cremated, because they couldn't afford what they had planned for 60 years. This is planning their, when they leave us. And now my dad, at the funeral home, when we were talking to the director, he says, we were going to be married in the caskets. Now he did get credit for the 2 caskets that they had been making payments on, but he said, I'm going to be cremated as well. He made his decision that day because he wants to be with my mom. So I'm just saying this has touched more people, more seniors.
Well, I had to cremate John.
Even without thinking about it. It's not just the food, the medical costs. It's even your own burial that you can't even plan it or afford anymore.
Well, we didn't have, plans on a funeral because I didn't expect John to die.
Oh, yeah.
Like that. So it's like when he did, I had to cremate him. I couldn't afford to bury him. Oh my gosh. And I'm not going to put a GoFundMe out or anything like that. Yeah. I could have, put stuff on my credit cards, but then with the interest rate and everything being so high under Biden, I'd be paying like 10 years on that.
It's ridiculous.
It was like $15,000 to bury him. And I'm like, I can't afford that.
And
I'm not trying to whine, but I'm just,
when my folks it still ended up being $9,000.
Yeah.
And this is after taking off the caskets and, doing the cremation. But you still have to get a casket if you're going to be cremated for display. If you're going to be the display.
Yeah.
And that's
we didn't do that.
$1,500 for
Yeah.
the 2 days that you're using. It's outrageous. I got so angry at everything, and it's like I said, it's not just our living expenses, it's our dying expenses. We can't even,
It's birthing
with our
expenses. Look at
family.
how much diapers are and formula. No
Yeah.
wonder why people can't have families. How can you afford, $150 a month in diapers on top and then formula and everything on top of it? I just can't understand how people do it.
Unless you're an illegal, and then you can get a $13,000 food card
Oh,
a month.
You can get everybody riled up on that.
I know.
That one. I know it makes you mad. You go
I'm
to the
already
store.
fired up.
It's terrible. I don't know. It's terrible. But this UN stuff, you guys really got to pay attention to it. And if you can go on their website, and it has all the explanations for it. I could go into, a whole lot more, but unless you got like kind of a good primer on it, it's the 15-minute cities. It's the bug protein they want to give you, but they're going to reduce the population.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I have the Deagle company. They do, what do you want to call it? Like research for the Department of Defense and the government and different stuff. And years ago, they put out a projection on 2025, and this was before COVID. So just remember that part. And that by 2025, the United States population would have reduced by over 65%. And it shows like the projected GDP per country and the population per country and everything. Well, when they put that out, I found it and I was like, oh my gosh, something really bad's going to happen. And Deagle does this is their main business. So it's not a joke, and it wasn't, and it wasn't a prank, and it wasn't fraud. It was nothing like that. And it wasn't put out to scare people. Well, if you try to dig around now, you won't find it, but they know something's coming to have the global population that down. Now, Agenda 2030, why they say 2030 is because by 2030, they want all electric vehicles, no fossil fuels anymore, all that kind of stuff. And it's not going to happen, but they're pushing, and they're pushing
I
hard.
think we knew this when it's positive Trump is just bombarding the Democrats with votes. I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that man has 10 times the votes that Kamala ever will have, and that they will install her or try. And either way, like I said, if Trump wins, they're going to try to destroy us regardless. And if she wins, the Patriots are not going to sit back another 4 years and watch them turn the fire up on the boiling pot. We're not. I'm hearing it from everybody.
Well, do you know about the emergency succession bill? This happened. I found out about it during the week. I think the guy's name is Kirtland, something like that. But they're scrambling right now, and they're trying to do an emergency succession. So instead of going like president to vice president to speaker of the House and then on down, they're doing something so that they can immediately replace people in the case of a natural disaster or an emergency. Okay. You can't find the bill online anymore. They pulled it, but I got it. And I got it before they pulled it off. It hasn't gone into the House like for a vote that I know of, but they're planning something because our Constitution lays out everything for succession. And if you go, you can find executive orders that even Trump did that in case of a national emergency, that this is what happens. This, like the USDA takes over this and everything. They're trying to change it, and they're doing it really quietly. So just be aware of that too, because there's something.
They're not so quiet because we know about it. And I think a lot of us have known about it for a long time, because literally since 2016, Trump woke up the world. And, like I was saying to my daughter the other day, don't be afraid to speak out. It's just not worth it to make trouble, start arguments. Says it's just more peaceful. It's like if we don't shine the light on the darkness, there's going to be a whole lot of people walking into that cave, and that rock is going to be shut and it's not going to open. We have to pay attention, no matter what it is.
Yeah, whether you like it or not, whether you're scared for the information or whatever, but just use your gut when you're reading this stuff and go with your gut, because your first instinct is always going to be right. It's scientifically proven. Even if you go take a multiple choice test, go with the first answer that you want to. Don't ever go back and try to change your answers because you'll make them wrong.
Second guess yourself.
Yeah, don't, always go with your gut. So when you read this information, some of it may ring true to you. Some of it may sound really crazy, but as crazy as everything is, I mean, don't discount it just because you think it sounds stupid, because these people are nuts. They'll do anything at this point. I mean, especially if you're looking
evil crazy,
satanic.
Yeah.
They're all.
I mean, you're a little crazy, with your bingo, but they're insane. They're insane crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just funny.
Yeah,
funny crazy. I'm not
crazy.
I'm not mental. Although some days I might seem like it. I don't.
I felt a little mental before.
Yeah, but that UN stuff just. I mean, I think Chris that's here during the week with Tony. He's doing a new show called Prime Roast with Angie, and they're doing something over the weekend. Chris, Tony, and Sherry Curry, they've got a radio program on iHeartRadio, and they're going to be doing Agenda 2030 this weekend. So if you go on Tony's X or Chris's X or their Facebook accounts or any of their social media, and it has the time for that, and they're going to do 2 days breakdown over the weekend on radio. So that can give you a lot of really good information there too. So I just wanted to throw that in, for everybody, for resources. Just, you have to really look around, but there's stuff out there.
Yes, and don't forget to go check out that comet in the morning.
Oh gosh, yeah. Do you want to keep
going?
going?
Clear skies, you have a strong possibility of seeing it, and it's just before dawn. Just before dawn.
Yeah. How are you guys feeling about us? You want us to keep going, or have you had enough today? I don't know. How are you doing, Deb? Are you okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, I haven't seen anybody. I'm just reading the chat, going through here. I think we got a lot of people, I think, are missing today. What is there, like over 3 million people without power right now? Well, right before I came on, I looked, and it was 3 million that were without power. They're saying to keep going. So I guess do you want to keep going?
Yeah, sure. That MK, I was going to tell MK, look towards the east. Above the horizon in the east, just before dawn. But I suppose it depends. Now, there is a calendar that you can look up on whatever search engine you use. Just look it up. It'll tell you on what day, what time, and what location. Because it is moving, like Halley's Comet, we'd watch it in one spot one day, and then the next it'd be over a little more. Well, this is going to be here till the beginning of October sometime, and we may see it maybe around the 5th or 6th that it'll start fading out. But like from now until the beginning of October is the best time to see it. So I'd Google it for your location and see so you can catch it, because the picture I posted doesn't do it justice. That's why I got to get my good camera out to do this.
Yeah, I know. I wish I had a good camera, but I can't take good pictures. I just use my phone one.
I do, because it's easy to share with family.
Oh, well, everybody says they like the info that we're giving out. Well, about I don't know about that nanotech that Hard's talking about. Hard, you should probably go put it in the chat when you're in a little bit more information, because you know more than I do on that. And I don't know where he found that patent number, but I'm going to look that up. But that stuff is really, that graphene oxide is really crazy. And I've seen enough of that stuff too off the videos and everything.
I heard, what's his name? Joe Bot.
Yeah.
I'll follow him sometimes because he does a lot of all that stuff that is to me scientifically crazy and hard to grasp. So I do listen to him sometimes with some of his stuff, and it does sound bizarre. It sounds like this is not happening. This is impossible. I believe anything these days.
I do too. We go, like Karen does the UFO stuff and the woo-woo aliens. A lot of people don't believe that, but I've seen one myself, not an alien, but a UFO, and it was behind my house in Traverse City. And I had MUFON. It's the Mutual United something. Anyways, they do all the official reports, and mine's in there. And that's when my husband was alive. And we were in the house, and we heard like a really weird noise. We walked outside, and it was right behind the house above the trees. And it was the night. Do you remember? I think it was like 2003 or the late 90s when up in Canada, they had that power outage, and it was it was a blackout on the East Coast. And so it had to have been the 90s or the early 2000s. And that's when it was that same night that happened is when we seen that. And it was right over the trees, and you could see windows and you could see the lights going around it. And we stood on the deck and we watched it for like 10 minutes. And then I finally told John, I said, I'm going in. I don't want to go nowhere. I want to stay here. We ended up calling MUFON, and they came out and did a whole investigation and everything. And we weren't the only ones that seen it that night. And so I was glad we weren't the only ones.
Yeah.
Because everybody would say, oh, yeah, we know you, Trix. You're nut, And it's like, no, I really saw it.
It's really sad that telling the truth, you have to prove it.
Yeah.
And I found that when I was doing that other story, it's like, well, I don't believe this because I don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
Or I want to believe this part of it. I don't want to believe the bad stuff. So I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist. Unless you go and look and actually do your research, you're never going to know the truth. A lot of people watch the mainstream media still.
Yeah.
Still. So you're never going to convince them. You're never going to convince them different because they rely on the news, and they still rely on the news, no matter how crooked it is. It's really scary.
Well, see, just like what I saw, was it ours? Undisclosed technology, but then why would they sit so long in one spot? I don't get it. But, then there's the people that said, they're not aliens, they're demons. And if you listen to some of the priests and everything, that's what they think. They think it's demons, and they're able to jump dimensions and show up here. I don't know if that's true. I guess nobody will really know, but there's some, like you know about like the abductions in Dulce, New Mexico and stuff like that?
Yeah. And they've been talking about abductions for years.
Mm-hmm.
But, when they first started with all the alien stuff, so many people are skeptical, but they have government document pages and pages of pilots, of videos of pilots flying and getting on camera, on radar, these objects. I don't, and I've always said, this universe is so huge. Why would you think we're the only ones? But they aren't like us. We don't know what is out there.
No, we
infinite that we have no idea.
There's a lot of different things out there. And if the CIA, have you ever looked in the CIA vault that they opened up? Go into you can find it online. Just Google CIA vault, Black Vault. And when it's all the stuff that they finally had to declassify because the classification expired, there's tons of stuff in there about different technology and things that they've seen. And they even have pictures of aliens that are drawn out that they said that came from the military, different kinds. Like they said there's one kind that they're called the Nordics, and they're tall, and those are the ones that are real benevolent. You know, they're real nice and they try to help you. And then they said there's the reptilians, which are the ones that smell like sulfur. And they also call them shapeshifters. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look into some of that stuff, I know it sounds nuts, but I've seen videos that weren't doctored where like people are on TV and you see their pupils go to slits and then turn around and go back the other way. And I've seen videos where like their face starts changing. There was one, it was at a rally, and it was a Secret Service agent, and he was bald. He had a bald head and he was real tall, and he was standing to the side, and the guy was filming the crowd, just like, you know, anything. He wasn't zeroed in on this guy. And you seen the guy's face start changing like on the side. And it looked, you know how you look when it's real hot on the pavement and it waves like that? That's what was happening to like the side of his face. And it's like, you know, is that a, you know, malfunction on the camera?
I've seen a few videos like that, especially the ones where the eyes change.
Yeah.
Things can be so easily doctored that you got to be so careful what you actually believe. I'm not quite sure I believe in reptilian aliens.
Oh, I was just telling you what I read. But
no, because I've seen the videos too,
Mhm.
where they show their eyes changing and it's a slit. And some of the people are well-known people.
Yeah.
That's what's, you know, and here right now, we have all these elites that just get away with whatever they want. And then you look at somebody like Epstein or P. Diddy that's got all this proof on the elites that have taken advantage of their evilness.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are controlling it. They'll eliminate those guys to save their own butt.
Yeah, you know, all the little lackeys are going to be the first ones to go, and they don't even know it.
Yep.
But because they got everything, you know. I don't know, this conspiracy stuff though, you could go for hours on
Oh, I
something.
know.
But that UN stuff though, that's what really scares me, because they're going to confiscate farms, they're going to confiscate our homes. You know, you're going to be shoved. I wouldn't be surprised. They can use eminent domain for their, you know, and take your property.
Oh, yeah.
legally. You know, and they wouldn't hesitate to do it. And who's to say where are all these illegals supposed to live? Are they going to start knocking on doors and making you house them too? Because no,
Yep. I watched a live video yesterday of a journalist going into Ohio and going through the smaller communities and talking to the people, and they're saying they're being kicked out of their rental properties because the landlords are renting them to the illegals and getting more money.
Yeah.
So
Guaranteed rent payment by the government.
a lot of those people in that town are saying that's it. You know, we've been putting up with this for a couple years now, and it has just gotten so bad, and they're not working. You know, so they I don't care what Biden Walls or whoever says, these people are not working. They're living off taxpayer dollars. They said they're not out getting jobs. Some of them are in the meat packing, I guess. What is it, Tyson?
Yeah, by me, Tyson.
So a lot of the Tyson meat plants have a lot of illegals. Now I know the one in Illinois always did. They deport them one year, and then those people come back and deport them again, and they still come back. You know, so you go out to the place in Joslin, Illinois, to that Tyson, it's almost all illegals.
Yeah, see, Tyson over here was hiring, you know, in Logansport, they were hiring local people and everything, and then they started bringing in the Haitians here. And there's a lot of Latino and stuff by me too, just like I said before, because of the egg farms. But you know, I'm in an agricultural area. I mean, I'm right between Indianapolis and Chicago, so I can go to either city if I want the big city stuff. But you know, it's just scary what they're doing to everybody here. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I might flag an alien down and say, hey, if it's better than here, and I bring my family, you know, we'll pack a bag. Let's beat it.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they're sending all the criminals and psychotics and everything here, we could go to Mexico and it'd be nice and clean down there.
Yeah.
There won't be anybody left. All the bad people are gone, so you could go retire on the beach.
Well, they got everybody out of Haiti, so now they can fix that up.
Yeah. Oh, Haiti. That's a whole nother thing over there. Isn't that with the Clinton Foundation and all that? I can't wait to
Yeah.
some of the stuff like that. Was it Laura Silsby? She was the one that got caught taking kids from
Yeah.
Haiti during the earthquake. Yeah. And then she changed her name and working with the Center for Missing Children.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, these
not the
people don't
only
stop.
one who's using a name to exploit children and young women and young boys just for their own gratification, their own money. Not that they're actually doing any good, because they're actually trafficking themselves. We won't get into that so we don't get a thumbs down again.
Yeah. Somebody keeps giving us a thumb down. It was every week. It's one thumb down. So it's somebody that is either a troll,
That's okay. That means we're doing all right.
either that or somebody don't like me or you. I don't know which
That's
one.
okay.
I don't really care, but
I was gonna say I'm gonna wake up tomorrow one way or the other, regardless if they.
well, whoever gives us the thumb down, there you go. You got it right back.
Oh well.
Yeah, well, at least
Well,
I
the internet chat is a great place for adults to turn into children again, I guess.
Oh,
Like that. Thumbs down.
yeah. So, okay, Nut got here. She said Trump said yesterday 687,000 jobs went to illegals.
And I believe it 100%.
Wow. That is, I mean, I heard that too, that all the new jobs went to the illegals and everything. But I mean, just like around here, I mean, there isn't anything when you look as far as jobs unless you want to work in a nursing home, you know.
And
And
I
that's
loved it. When I was going to nursing school and I was working at is a long-term care facility. It wasn't
Mhm.
specifically nursing home, because
Yeah.
we had young people that had traumatic injuries that needed care as well. But this was back in would have been the 80s. And these people, some of these people were 101 years old, 102 years old. The stories they would have to tell about the 1800s, and one gal was a dance hall girl in the afternoon, and she was blind. She had no eyes. So her eyes were always closed, but she had no eyes because she got too much info here, but she got syphilis. And that
Oh,
was
yeah.
took her eyesight. And she was saying how the guys would come into these saloons back in the 1800s, and it was just, to me, fascinating. I love to talk to, especially elderly, that can give so much information on things that we're never going to know, and our kids, gosh, some stuff, a lot of the people don't even know what 9/11 was about.
That's sad right there. That's
It
really sad. But
is.
when you were talking about working at the long-term care, I did that in nursing school. So
Yep.
all you ladies that have tattoos, I saw a lady back then with tattoos that was very old. You're not going to like what you see when you get old. So I'm just telling you. So if you have like an elephant here, it's going to be all stretched out and all over the place. So just be aware where you put your tattoos. Don't put them on your chest, ladies.
I'll
Don't
just
do
take my flabby skin and wrap it around it.
that. Oh, what are you talking about? Like bat wings on the arms? I don't want.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could have flew to Illinois if I flapped hard enough.
I think that happens to everybody when they get older. But
Yeah.
see, now we got. You guys don't argue about the aliens because nobody knows what they are. Nobody
Yeah, we
knows.
don't know what they are. I do honestly believe UFOs exist. I
Oh, yeah.
definitely believe our government's hiding a great deal from us. And I'm not sure, what I believe as far as like the lizard people, but I do believe they have pictures of dead aliens that crashed at Roswell.
Yeah.
I don't know. Didn't some of this stuff get shipped to Ohio?
Yeah, to Wright Patterson.
Yeah. Yeah. There was an Air Force base or something that a lot of stuff was shipped there.
You know what I think those little things were? I think they were like they weren't, I think they were like a robot, but they have those little, like they talk about, that could be our own government making these things and putting like a human skin on them. They can grow skin, they can grow that stuff. That's what people don't realize. And whatever we see, they're 75 years, 50 years ahead of what we know in
Oh, yeah.
technology. So they have the heart attack gun. You know about that too. Somebody can be 10 feet away from you and give you a heart attack.
Yep.
I mean,
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that for sure.
yeah, I think they were talking about. Do you know who Art Bell is? He used to have a radio program, and he would. Oh man, he got into all that stuff. It was always a conspiracy or government stuff like that. And he had a guy call one time, and he was on the phone with him, and the guy on the radio program, and that guy was telling him that different stuff about that, and that the government was after him and everything, and he disappeared on the phone and the guy never came back and they never knew what happened to him. But there's all that kind of stuff, some of it's hoax, but I think our government has a lot to do with the UFO stuff. I really do.
I have no doubt. My dad used to tell us when we were growing up, I don't know, early teens, I guess, my brother and I were, but he says, in time of war on U.S. soil, you won't believe what comes out of the ground.
Yeah.
So I've always prepared for, they know a lot we aren't going to ever know till we actually see it be used.
There was a guy that worked for, he was a contractor for the government. His first name was Phil. I wish I could remember his dang last name. Somebody in the chat might know who I'm talking about. But they were doing work out by Area 51, and they were doing tunnels and doing underground excavation and everything. And supposedly he went down and came across those things that live underground and got into a firefight. And he did seminars all across the United States, and he was missing fingers. He had stuff on his chest. And he said it was like a laser that hit him and burned him and everything. And he would show you that. And then one day they took him out too. He's gone. I wish I could remember what his last name is. I watch a lot
of those documentaries and things like that. I mean, if I find something interesting, and I want to know more, then I just continually dig till I find out enough of the answers that it satisfies me. There's so much I'm still digging in that I'm not satisfied with that yet.
No, I like to read, and I go through all that. I like conspiracy, though. I've been into that for such a long time. So, but now you're not getting as much. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, there was a lot. Now everything's been out for so long. There isn't really too much new. It's just rehashing stuff over and over again.
Yeah, I want to know why they made such a big deal, about, it was it not Rosenthal, but they made such a big deal out of the alien thing, and it went before Congress and Nancy Mason and all these people.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. They had that UFO thing. Yes.
All of a sudden it disappeared. So what good was all that? More money.
Do you know about the Grand Canyon? About that supposedly that, how do you want to put it? That was like the original Egypt or something. That there was a guy that worked. It was in National Geographic. If you go back into the 20s, there was a guy that was doing like going around looking through the Grand Canyon and came across this huge cavern, and it was full of statues and all this kind of stuff. They found a Sphinx there, and there's people have taken pictures and everything of it too, but they keep it pretty quiet. But I don't know how, I've seen the pictures, so there's obviously something there, and the papers were legitimately in National Geographic too. So it was, and I think it's the Smithsonian too. They said they took a lot of the stuff to the Smithsonian, but it's not on display. They have it put away. But they found a bunch of like Egyptian stuff in the Grand Canyon. A whole bunch.
I knew it was the ocean, but I didn't I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that up. That'll give me something.
Yeah.
to do.
You just look up Egyptians in the Grand Canyon, but yeah, they found a whole bunch of stuff that, and it was all Egyptian shit. There was no way again around it. You
Yeah.
could see it. So where did that come from?
Yeah.
But then they used to tell us that the Earth never had one continent when we were in school, and any kid in kindergarten could look at the pieces and go, duh, it goes together.
Yep.
Now,
yeah, we used to do that too, and then they'd turn on the motion thing, and then all the land would just kind of connect.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if that was, it could be if that was one piece of land back then.
Oh, I can believe it.
So Egypt.
I believe it. I don't care what anybody says. I believe
Well, look
it.
at all the anomalies they find in coal veins and everything.
Yeah.
There's some really crazy stuff
Yeah.
that they find.
And the new info that's coming out on Noah's Ark, and its location. And when you watch it, and the proof that's coming out, and I'm a fanatic about the Shroud of Turin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They still have. It's like all the time they have something new coming out, and it's like, I don't care. You can't convince me. I found no proof that it's not. So I honestly bet it didn't survive this many years for no reason at all. I think it was saved for the doubting Thomases, the Shroud of Turin.
The Shroud of Turin is really something. I
It's
mean,
fascinating.
that should prove to you that everybody, if you think about it, I'm just going to go on a little tangent here for a second. If your energy and Christ was resurrected, so your energy would flash, okay? So why would not that be real? So as he's resurrected, that flash of energy burns that into, that
It
shroud.
was radioactive energy.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
To me, they've proven it's not. They've proven it's blood.
Yeah.
That's
It's
without
AB
doubt.
negative too. It's
They've
AB
proven
negative.
it's blood. They've proven that some of the plant matter that's embedded into the fabric has been in that location where Christ would have died.
And was only at that time too.
Yeah, and they were doing, when they did some of the samples, because when the nuns had it and they were keeping it hidden away, I believe it was back in 800 AD, that they had the big fire. Well, some of those pieces of the fabric were patched.
Yeah.
Over the years, if it had a tear or whatever, the nuns would patch it. So when they tested some of that, it wasn't testing back 2,000 years ago. It was testing, farther forward. So people were trying to debunk it.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard anything that debunks it. I totally believe it 100%. Someone did a AI generated face of what the Shroud of Turin, so that you could actually see a more accurate image of what the Christ looked like. And
yeah, they did that 3D model of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is. I find that fascinating. But until it's called faith.
Yeah, you have to
And
have
I have a lot of faith, and I believe in God, and there's nothing going to take that from me, no matter what happens. But when it comes to a gift like that has been given to us 2,024 years ago, and it still exists, and that image is still there, you can't convince me that is anything but the burial cloth of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it. I believe it 100%. I have faith and I have hope, and I'm, but some of it, like in Rome, when I was in Italy, I went to the Vatican, and when you walk in that place, how everybody says you can feel energy and everything. The entire time I was in there, I had goosebumps the whole time. As soon as we walked in there, you just feel it. You just feel it.
Well, remember they had that. I can't think of the college. I think somebody in chat can help me. They had that revival, and people were coming from all over the world.
Oh, you're talking about on the East Coast.
Oh,
it was that one. I know it was like North Carolina or something. I know what you're talking about. That school. It was like 2 years ago, was it, when they were all there?
And people were coming from all over the world. and standing in line to go into this. I cannot think of the name of it now.
Wesleyan?
No,
I don't know.
come on, somebody in the chat. You got to know.
Somebody saying, okay, was it Kentucky?
I'm not thinking of the state. I'm thinking of the actual school itself.
Okay, I don't know.
Asbury. There it is. Thank you, Jill Jack. Asbury.
Oh, okay, I see it. It just came up on my side here.
Yep. And there were people literally lining up they came over from Spain. They came over from Italy. They were coming from everywhere to
Mhm.
just go in. They said you could feel it.
When I was in the Vatican, I'm not kidding you, but I'll tell you a real funny story about the Vatican, though. You know how the Pope always comes out that great big door? That big door? Well, we decided we were going to go up in the dome of the Vatican and to see the ceiling. And I am scared to death of heights. I'll fly. I mean, we had a plane. I'd fly and everything, but I'm scared of heights like that. And it was a teeny tiny little catwalk, okay, that went around the top. Got up there. I had a panic attack. And I flipped myself against the back of the wall. And John was trying to tell one of the Swiss guards that I was about ready to throw up and everything. And the guy didn't get it. And so he kept telling me I had to keep going around. And I'm like, no, I'm not, I'm not going. So he finally figured out what was going on. And they walked us down and we came out the back way. I got to come out of the Pope door, coming from out of the top, from the top of the dome. So the guy opened the door, we walk out, and everybody was looking to see who it was, and it was us.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some big secrets in the vaults of the Vatican as well.
Oh yeah, down in the library underneath. I was in the crypts underneath there. That is spooky as heck under there. But I know they said that the Vatican library underground like that goes like for miles.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I would love to go in there.
Oh my gosh, I'd never leave. I'd need a translator because nothing's going to be in English.
No.
When I was little, we still had Latin mass.
Oh, I remember Latin mass. Yeah, when I was little too.
Yeah, and then after a few years, if you move from another state or whatever, and you go back to say your old church, and they've changed the words or they've changed something. I don't like to sing everything, every answer. I don't want to sing everything. Sometimes I just want to speak it. But then it started to be everything was a sing it. Let's sing it. Amen would be a long, drawn out guitar mass, amen, and things like that. And it's just, I don't know. I guess I'm a traditionalist, but that's just me.
Oh, but if anybody ever gets a chance to go to Italy, they got to go to the Vatican. You got to go to the Vatican.
My mom was there. Yeah, that was one of her dreams. So she fulfilled her dreams. I'll tell you what. In her 70s, for her 70th birthday, she jumped out of an airplane. She loved it so much. She did it again on her 75th. And Dad, of course, talked her out of it on the 80th. He says, that's about enough of that.
Yeah.
But one of her things was my mother said the rosary every morning. And she would sit, especially when her later years, she'd put her little headset on and sit with her tablet and listen to her readings, her psalms and her readings. And she would say the rosary every morning. And I think that's my dad gets up in the morning now and she's not sitting in her chair. And that's been his hardest thing is, and plus she did everything. Back then, the wife took care of the bills. She wrote out the checks. He didn't even know how much money they had in their savings account. So my sister's now the executor of the will because she lives close by, and they had enough to pay for the funeral. Thank God they had enough to pay for the funeral. So he's okay until like the insurance comes in and Social Security. But he worked for the federal government his whole life, whether it was when he was in the military, he was a postman for a second job, and when he worked at the arsenal. So he doesn't have a Social Security check coming in. There is no Social Security. Luckily, my mom retired from John Deere when she ended up going back to work, but that's enough. That's not enough for both of them. And then when she got sick, that's when they had to make changes to their funeral. I get so angry about that. I think that was one of my most angry moments was listening to my dad say how they had to change their burial plans after they'd been making payments on it for I don't know how many years so that it wouldn't be a burden to us. There's 7 of us kids. There's no way that we are giving my parents, the best of whatever we can give them. But to hear what they struggle with their whole lives, it seems like people are getting taken. I get so mad with this. I love President Trump. Don't get me wrong. The no tax on tips makes no sense to me whatsoever. And I don't know anybody that's going to convince me. I waited tables for years. Most of us never claimed all our tips anyway.
No, you don't.
But our paycheck was very, very small. I mean, there was times when our paycheck was $1.50 an hour, and our tips were our income.
Yeah.
And we made good money. A lot of times you'd make, 100, 200, 300, depending on where you work. And so that was our income. So now you're saying those people that make that kind of income aren't going to have to pay taxes on it. Just baffles me. I don't understand it. When what we should be doing, you want to rope in some voters, get rid of stinking property tax for people that have paid for their house, have lived there for 50 years, and still have to pay property taxes and are losing their homes because they've fallen behind on property tax.
Yeah,
about that. That's
legalized theft when they do that.
With this no tax on tips.
Well, you know what I was thinking about, Deb? That you were saying about the no tax on tips. But I just thought of this when you were talking. If you don't report your tips, like you were saying, when you go to file for Social Security, when you get old, they go by, the 5 highest grossing years. You're screwing yourself out of income in your retirement.
Oh,
but
yeah.
if you're 30 right now, would you even worry about that? Because there's not going to be no Social Security by the time those people retire.
Oh, no. And at the time, when I was waiting tables, I'm saving change and all this other stuff so that I could cash it in, buy clothes or diapers or, something for my family. I wasn't thinking about retirement. It's like now, my dad isn't thinking about his funeral. Now he's thinking about paying bills until, God forbid, the day he gets called home. That's what when I heard that, I was so angry and I was so hurt for my dad because he did everything right. Everything.
Yeah, he played by the rules and it doesn't work.
Yep. No alcohol ever touched his lips. He never went out to the bars. He never hung out with the guys other than taking us kids camping with them or something like that. It's just, I was angry. I talk to myself back and forth to Illinois all the time.
I don't blame you for being angry though, and you're probably you're going to go through a whole lot of different kinds of emotions here coming up. I'm telling you.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah. And
Just,
it's like,
even Kamala is trying to steal the no tax on tips. And to me, when I hear it, it infuriates me because that is their income.
mm-hmm.
When I worked at the nicer places, the expensive restaurants, it was nothing to bring in $200 and $300 a night because our paycheck wasn't nothing. I might make $50 a week on a paycheck.
Yeah, that's the screwy part.
Yeah, my tips could be as much as $800 or $900.
Yeah, I know. I was working like that too when I was younger.
Yeah, so nobody has to pay tax on that. Are you kidding me?
The only thing I liked about it when I was young like that, because I was going to college and then I was a bartender too at the same time, and then my kids were little, and I was a single mom at that point, going to college and stuff, and it was really good for me because I was able, every night I went home, I had money in my pocket. I could put food on the table. I had money. The kids needed lunch money for school and all, or anything like that, but then once I was done with school, I didn't do that anymore, but everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people end up doing that when they're young, you know, taking a job like that and everything. And they really need to think about that. No tax on tips. If you're trying to, you know, make your lifetime earnings go way up, if they don't tax you on your tips and you don't claim them, you're kind of hurting yourself.
I mean, your paycheck isn't going to be nothing. It never was when you're whether you're, you know, of course they call them servers now, but whether you were waiting tables or tending bar or carrying someone's luggage to their room, your actual paycheck is small. Your tips are your wages, and they should be taxed. And that's just my opinion. Just from
I wouldn't mind if they let you like
tables and stuff. I can't imagine not being taxed on it.
Well, if he could go, you know, where you only claim 50% too. Just
Now,
he's just,
get
I mean,
rid of
he's
property
doing
tax.
it.
Get
I
rid
mean,
of
I am.
property tax.
I gotta put my glasses on to see what time it is.
Ooh,
Oh.
9:40.
We did good today then. Nobody ever said a word about last week. We went hour 17 and I never heard from Ed. So I figured, what the heck? I guess we're okay. Nobody
Yeah.
said nothing.
Well,
Well,
we survived we survived an extra 40 minutes.
Oh, I know. I'm getting squirmy though. I still had tea this morning. So what do you say? You ready to wrap it up?
We better wrap it up and everybody have a great weekend.
Yeah.
It is harvest time. So I want to plug one thing before we go. It's harvest time. And I've got all the I'm making all my salves, my oils, my tinctures and stuff like that. So I'm going to put a lot of videos up on the Live Simple page. And this year I have a spinning wheel back here where I started to make fabric out of some of the fiber from stinging nettle, the plants. And I'm going to show you one real quick before we sign off. Okay, this is off my spinning wheel that I spun last year. And this, it kind of looks like jute.
Oh, yeah, it does.
This is made out of plants. It's made out of stinging nettle.
I'll be darned. Yeah, because I use jute.
It takes a while to prep it and everything else. So I just did a little bit, but I've got a little bit of a spool on my spinning wheel. Then you put on your spinning wheel and you spin it into thread, and then you can weave it into fabric or crochet it. So that's something new I'm going to do this year. So I'm going to kind of keep myself busy, I think, doing since I'm still kind of getting over that reality thing, like what's not with mom. So I'm doing all my little salves and tinctures and stuff. So my sisters, all of you out there, you're getting some hopefully for Christmas. So we'll see how shipping is around Christmas time.
Now, see, I'm a baker and a cooker, so you guys will be surprised with what you get. I made Italian bread during the week. Oh gosh, it was so good. But
I can't wait to get it's still a little too warm for me to fire up the cook stove.
Well, yeah,
when I get the wood cook stove going and I start making fresh bread and all that stuff, oh my gosh, I'm gonna switch my camera and everything to the kitchen so I can sit in front of the stove and you can smell. You'll have smell-o-vision.
Smell-o-vision. Yeah, well, just be careful what you're watching if you got smell-o-vision. Yeah.
I'm not watching bingo.
Okay, Nut says she's told her power might be back on Monday.
Good.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Sorry, Nut. All right, well, let's wrap it up. It's almost 1:45 already. So thanks you guys for hanging around with us.
Yeah. And again, I appreciate everybody's well wishes and condolences. It really meant a lot. It really did. I had a lot of alone time driving back and forth from Wisconsin to Port Byron, and I appreciate my friends. And it's like my mom's funeral, the priest said, Judy didn't have any friends because everybody was family. And her visitation, we had over 400 people come to her visitation. So it was truly amazing. And to have dear friends like you all out there really touched me. So love you.
Sure makes a difference, doesn't it? I found out last year too. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
You find out there's a lot of people that love you that you don't even know.
Yep. Absolutely. And I'm going to learn from my mom. I always have. So I'm going to try to be a little bit more tolerant for some people. I think that I kind of learned that this weekend with having such a big family and everybody wanting to, be in charge or whatever. I'm kind of one of those that just sits back and watches. And so I'm going to learn to be a little more tolerant instead of letting it get to my, get my goat. That's my mom would say.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up and
Yes.
we'll see you guys at 6 tonight or Monday morning in the chat. Have a good weekend.
Yep. Go out, get those pictures of that comet, and we'll see you next week. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.